Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to Vicky 3. It's episode number 8. With the Ottoman Empire here, we're facing a couple of dilemmas, right? We had that sick man of Europe and then a difficult to evolve law system because the local governors had very strong control and were anti everything. We've finally gotten out of those two complications and have started to open the floodgates on what is possible within the game. But one problem persists. Nobody likes us. We have no allies, so we don't have backing. We have to maintain a strong military because of that general dislike. Our military is definitely not at the top. It's number 7. It's befitting of our rank. We have 9,000 in the power projection. And I think we're not too far off now, tech-wise, from being able to push on and add quite a bit of power projection to that. We do probably need to make at least a slight further advancement. We have 70 additional regiments from what we started with, and 99% of that has come directly from conquering lands and absorbing those regiments into our army. The Navy's only number 12. We have invested a little bit into that one, and it's been costly when we did. But with the floodgates open and the economy rapidly expanding, a couple things are apparent. One, our expansion path is not easy with that military dilemma, having much stronger nations and no one liking us, no friends. We have to be careful on how we approach things. There's a lot of weaker nations than us, and so there's definitely lands that we can take and have taken and continue to grow and expand and take. But we have to limit our infamy at about that 50 mark to avoid the bigger players coming after us, because they absolutely can and would defeat us and be pretty damn problematic for it. So other than waiting for the infamy to decay a little while so that we can move on, carry on with our map painting, which is definitely not gonna, I don't see us reaching the top rank anytime soon. But we could certainly begin to climb, because a strong economy that's taken a long time to get to the stage it's at, I think we could catch and pass the U.S. pretty rapidly. Certainly Austria, Hungary, and quite possibly Russia at the rate we're going if we continue for a little while, holding off on some military expansion and really, really hitting the economy hard for a little bit. That would also raise up our standard of living and create some population boosts, at least to an extent for us, as that continues to grow. Overall, that population's at number 7, but we're at 80 on the standard of living. We were close to 200 not so long ago, so we've come a long ways, but we've got a ways to go yet. Wow, that GDP is number 9, and I think that's one of those key things that's holding us back from being a bit higher up, because we have prestige, and we're still only seen as a major power, not as a great power. If we're going to find a friend, the best thing we can do for ourselves is reestablish ourselves as a great power as we once were. If we can get back over that threshold to get recognized, that's the key. And you can see here, we seem to be fairly close to doing that, not terribly far off. So that's going to be, I think right now, the key is going to be rapid economic growth. Positive law changes continuing to help us out with that. I've already fixed the military a little bit, hired some new generals as we had a few pass away recently. No major military changes for a little bit. Tech-wise, though, that's the one. Where are we at when it comes to... Well, military statistics is quick. We'll pick that one up as trench infantry. So 7 years is the timing on that one as of right now. We have some of the others around it. I think we need to go ahead and try to get that coming, because that's going to be that elevation. That ability to get after enemies is we've got to become number 1, and that's going to be one of the paths. If we can rapidly grow the economy, then we can rapidly grow the military with it and be able to take on a Russia with ease, to be able to take on an Austria-Hungary with ease, weaken them, and then you can, you know, play at the top. For now, we're kind of stuck lingering in that second tier. But with a decent amount of reserves now, approaching 6 million, and a decent positive balance, we've already made a fairly rapid expansion to our construction. That's still minor. That's still inferior to where it could or should be, especially if we're going to be seeking some rapid growth. One of our complications is, even though we have a fairly good sized population with 50 million, unemployed is only 318,000. It's not that much. We have a lot of just peasants or dependents out there that just aren't seeking work. And so some of that's going to come with law changes. We'll open that up a bit more. One random thing that I noticed is France has a piece of the Sinai. I didn't know that they ever took that, or that that was ever even still an available thing. They certainly didn't get it from us. It must have been Egypt still, and they must have somehow demanded it and received it. I was going to invest a lot into construction. However, our research is already heading down that path, and we're just 27 months away from unlocking the next tier, which is going to be a pretty expensive upgrade, and it's going to take some economic support. If you have a lot of construction in place, it's going to be harder to kind of take off with that one. So we're going to play through that 27 months and then evolve our construction methods once that's available. For a little while, I've been targeting Argentina and trying to colonize this area, but we couldn't colonize because Argentina had the rights to it. Now, to absolve them of those rights, you can't do it as a primary war goal. You could take it as a secondary war goal, in theory, that I have yet to figure out. I've yet to try. Mostly because we've had our eyes set on bigger targets, and the infamy to start taking states away from Argentina has been, well, not terribly appealing. Somehow or another, Argentina owes us an obligation. I don't know how it happened, but they owe us one. They have just started colonizing here to the deep south, and they have an itty bitty tiny little locale here. Our obligation is about to expire, and we could actually use it to take that state off of them. So I'm going to go ahead and try. I don't know if that's going to open it up for us, but it's not going to cost me any infamy or anything. So I'm going to see if I can make that ours and use that obligation for something to our benefit, and it has worked. Now, it's tiny. Like, there's no GDP. The population is 1,000. Does it give us rights into the land? Oh, that's it for the state, though. There's nothing left to colonize. Oh, there's a little bit left there. Still can't colonize, though. Well, that's a shame. But at least we have a tiny little state. We'll get it incorporated, and we at least have a little foothold into South America. And I think building wise, even though we don't have much of a population, we absolutely want to throw in a port. It has a port. Well, there you go. 287 people working there. Public schools, well, we still have no school system whatsoever. It's not going to be easy, just an 11% chance. But the religious folk are the only ones who are opposed to education. So we'll give it a shot and see what we can do. There is a small movement beginning to ban slavery, or to desire the banning of slavery. Both can, of course, be helpful, useful. And we're seeing a slow growth for now. We're going to let time tick by on our tech. 20 months left. Well, one of my proposed targets was the Marina Kingdom. Britain's going to get after them first. That was about fourth on my list. The expansion into Persia is at the top of my list right now. Egypt at the top of my list right now. Definitely those two. Argentina was third on my list, with Marina being kind of the fourth area that I was thinking to expand to. But it looks like Great Britain's going to Sweep that one out from under us while our infamy slowly decays. Our earliest attempt, it's only about 20% chance to progress. Majority is a chance to debate. Stall chance is fairly minimal too. And the first take is a debate, so let's see if we can trade something off. We have enactment time. Two groups that don't like us, liking us less is probably not a big deal, but what else can we do? That just slows it down. So yeah, we're gonna cut down on that education time, or enactment time. Our agitator, who was part of the intelligentsia group, has passed away, and actually has hurt our success chance a little bit. Instead of 20%, we're still really at 20, but I think we were at more like 21, 22 before. And of course, debate again, no surprise about that. Can we get some sort of forward progress? Again, it's just the enactment time, speeding things up. It is speeding things up. But in terms of something positive versus something negative outside of the debate, we have a 1/3 chance, but 2/3 of that opportunity does go down to something positive, something on the forward side. So it's still certainly possible, but it's just a little frustrating that we have yet to make any sort of inroads, but we're definitely speeding things up. I mean, we've cut down time by a good 30% here. And we're now looking at a window of just 4 months for it to tick by to the next opportunity. It's definitely nice that we have a very balanced economy right now, and we are managing to turn some things up in a certain direction. It looks like we need a little bit more in explosives and coal, which is what I've been working on expanding here in the last little bit, and it's definitely not too bad on that. Flu pandemic. Finally, okay, so the flu pandemic, the British flu, it's been bothering us for a few years, and that's cleared up. But we need explosives, we need engines, and more coal. Again, it goes to debate, and again, we cut that time down by another 15%. We're now looking at a window of about 4.5 months each time, so it's just shortening that window down more and more so we can get there faster. But it's the debate that keeps winning the day and just making groups be not so pleased with us at the moment. Infamy back under 25 for the first time, so we're down to just reputable. If there's a chance that anyone would like us, we're starting to fall into that window where they might. We're down to a -19 from France. And here's the thing on that one. If we were a great power instead of a major power, we'd add 20 to our score. They would want to be our ally. But I do believe that they still have an alliance with, yes, the German Empire. So until they have the ability to have more than one alliance, nothing doing it anyway. But in general, this does make anyone like us more. Britain has an alliance now. Who are they friends with? Peru, Bolivia. Wow. There are 3 now in the neighborhood. The U.S. at -38, Great Britain at -43, and France at -19. Those are the 3 that are the closest. 4th time it's gone to debate. This time there's at least a little bit more options. Make the intelligentsia unhappy, but success chance would go up though. So that's the first time we're getting that type of approval. It's going to hurt us for a little bit, but we'll take it. I mean, they really like us anyway. Their +12 is now a +9. Oh no, but we suddenly have an increased chance. 35% now can go positive. We've dropped that debate down from a 2/3 chance down to about almost a 50-50 chance. And the stall drops by about 1% as well. Definitely kind of the first forward progress we've had. The Sunni ulema have started their anti-public schools movement. That was expected. No surprise there, but their radicalism is pretty low. Their support is very low, so I don't see them having a way to block this. As long as we can begin to move the needle, which we've finally managed to do at this point, I see it being fairly inevitable unless the stall happens. That's kind of the one big thing that could stop us right now. All right, so we have instant construction sector throughput with that law being passed. We've also picked up baking powder. And at the same time, the law has passed to consideration. So we have finally had something besides a debate, and it was a success. I kind of would have been happy with advance because we need a little bit more on that one. I had the wrong one in place. This is the one we need to unlock the construction sector, and we're getting started on it, steel frame building, so we do still have a little ways to go, but it does increase our throughput. We're up to a 136. We've almost doubled what we had just a few years ago, so that's going to help us on that rapid growth. After suffering the flu, right, we saw a little bit of kind of a stall on our population growth, but it's back to growing. And it's gone into ascent, so back-to-back successes, even though we only had a 25% chance after that long string of debates. And we're on the verge now, though, again, the odds are still not in our favor. I doubt we can get 3 in a row. Back to debate. That was kind of expected at this point. But what do we have for options here? It's kind of a dual good. Either you're making the armed forces stronger, which is weakening the governors, or you're increasing the enactment chance versus something that does absolutely nothing. So yeah, we'll take that one, even though it does mean we could increase radicalism a bit. And it did take that 40% option, so it does go up by 10%. So radicals are going to go a little bit higher, but we're now looking at a near 50% chance of either success or advance. That debate's dropping the stall chances below 10% now. Definitely close to getting that law to go through. Oh, buddy! And we have a diplomatic play against us. It's a conquer state play by the German Empire. So one, we don't have infamy. This is just straight up, they have strength. Now, France is their ally, but that means this should break their alliance with France, because France does have, and this is going to be the big key on this one, Germany has a much stronger army than we have. Okay, so they're plus a good 8,000 on us, the number 3 power. They're number 6 in military, but France is above them on that. We have got to get France on our side, because with France on our side, this is easy. With France on our side, the war is going to largely be played out right there. So what are they going for? Well, they want Tunisia. Really? That's your target, is Tunisia? For one, that's not a big deal. But look who's leaning our side. Suppose we better start preparing for the war, though. I think I need to take at least one army and move it to North Africa to defend against an invasion there. What is their navy left? Ooh, their navy's strong. 8,700 projection, where we have 2,000. Alright, we are into that phase. Our first thing is we have got to get France on our side. That alone should do it. No one is leaning their direction. With the attack from Germany, they are breaking the alliance, so we now have the opportunity to get with obligation. Okay. But that also breaks the defensive pact. Let's get them in the war before we worry about the alliance part. Yikes. That was unexpected. Great Britain has sided with Germany, even though they weren't leaning at all in their direction. Now we have a problem even with, as this is not your typical Great Britain, where they have the number 1 navy, which they do, but they have the number 3 army. They have 21,000 on their power projected, combined with the 18,000. So that's 40k, where Britain, sure, adds 24, but to our 9, that's just not happening. And all of a sudden you have all these shared borders with Great Britain. But that would be a way to get Britain out of the war, right? If you stall the war with Germany, this is still winnable, but oh my. Alright, so it's going to take us 20 maneuvers to call on France. That's an obvious one. Let's make sure they are in this war here. And there we are. So France has joined in. This is getting big. It's getting ugly. And now we have decisions to make. I think I have to let France hold Germany themselves. And then we have to try to take all of this British land to get Britain to be the first one to drop out of the war. If that happens, it can definitely be a positive outcome potentially, but what do we even to gain? Right? Do we claim Great Britain lands? I mean, I don't think we're getting anything from the German Empire themselves. I think you can stall long enough to get a white peace, but maybe we put our claims on British territory and hope that Britain put a good amount of their forces on the front between Germany and France, and that it just kind of stalemates for a while. But without any land border connections with the German Empire themselves, we have a chance. And all they want is Tunisia, so even if we lose, we do have some French support also here. So West Africa, we'll have to watch out for what happens there with Senegal. Very minor armies in Africa. All of a sudden, they're worried. Relative military strength and mobilization. We're way ahead of them on the mobilization part, but they do ultimately have more units than what we have. We can commit to a fairly rapid expansion, but it's not rapid. It would take time to make much of an expansion happen. I do think we need to focus on it. Like I was saying just a little bit ago, it's something we kind of wanted to hold off on a little bit. And there you go. With our interest regions, this is what's available to us. Try to take back Amhara, which was ours anyway. We gave it to them for helping us against Russia. That's going to jump us all the way to 72 infamy if this happens, but if we're going to fight this war, we're going to fight this war and commit to it. So let's start the distribution of troops to the fronts so that we can get a jump on things. We do not need to worry about what's over here, but... Oh, Spain also jumping in. Oh my goodness. And King... I think this just got really bad. Yet they remain uncertain. Depends on how much all of these supporters, how committed they are. For now, most of these armies remain uninterested. Our mobilizing is nearly complete. We're going to start with a little bit of growth. This may be a back down situation. Back down, of course, we'll see that autonomy just disappear. And it's weird how you still collect the same amount of autonomy in a defensive war as you do in an offensive war. I really think you should be getting less. It would make perfect sense to have less, not more. Or not the same. Alright, meanwhile, we're still trying to pass public schools, and it has had an advance. It's the first time we've had an advance. That's an 11% chance. We now have it up to 55% with the 11% advance. Debates down to 23, stalls down to 9.7. As for our fronts, right now we have total control over these British fronts. France is not looking great. They've got a lot of opposition on their fronts. But if we can take control of our zones, and I think I can afford to send First Army to help out, maybe down here. Well, it's still possible. That's the one that's not looking good. If France loses, we absolutely lose. Oh, they've added in others. And primary demands. So liberate Ethiopia and humiliate the Ottoman Empire. So they've added primary demands to what they're doing here. Put war reparations on. That one doesn't hurt. Okay, we're up to 80%, or down to 80% here as they've brought in 5 armies. But otherwise haven't even activated the others. Which means they're really not taking this very seriously. But here comes the British forces. Main thing for us is to not cede territory while gaining a little bit of territory. And that gives you the edge. But this is not looking good. It's almost time for the war, and we're looking at 80% advantage on this front, 80% advantage on this front, 21% advantage on this front. We have a defense of primary Tunisia, and it's not looking good on the French fronts, but if they can hold out all these extra units, especially like here, if we could take this land quickly enough, we can send our large second army to help. And the more British land you hold, the more likely we are to actually, succeed. But the war's coming, and we are very much outnumbered. It's on. My desire for demands, I think, is what brought Spain. We could have won that war, but what's the point of fight? I probably should back down, but it's too late now. I either back down at the beginning or take the future alliance with France and going, that's a victory right there. Give up Tunisia, gain an ally in France. That's a heck of a trade-off right there. Going to take them 48 days to get there. Okay. We're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to pull off one army from here to take over there. We're going to pull off those 60 to go help in France. There you go. It's held. Oh, the Trucial states aren't part of this. Okay. Redeployed there. We'll send the 26 also. So the 60 and the 26 both to... And we need a conclusion before... Oh! It's ticked by, and we got a debate. Debate was, 25% chance. Reenactment success. I like that. There we go. It's up to 74% now. Okay, our second army has made it. We've neutralized the Italian front, but the Spanish front is not looking good. We definitely need to get that help support. They've got a single army of 46, so actually you can really turn that. We are holding another one of the states, and with a second force, we should be able to make forward progress a little faster. There's an aristocratic revolt ongoing. Army has arrived, but it's not made much of a difference. Advance again, still doesn't pass. We had a 74% chance. Checking in on the war support of the nations up to this point, we are at plus 74. France is at plus 53. Italy's at plus 59. Germany's at plus 53. So they are both in kind of the same state right now. But somehow Britain is at plus 70. How are they higher? We are occupying some of their lands. It's 1.7%. That's the big problem with all this. it's such a small percentage. But what is France's? 36%? It's 2 states. They are much smaller. They're very strong, but those 2 states, that's hurting a lot more. What we're taking from Great Britain is not all that powerful, and France is going to be the first one to be out of the war. At which point, it's a hard loss. All 3 of these fronts are collapsing pretty quickly. We are going to have to make peace prior to France dropping out of this war. I do worry about this particular army as they deal with their revolt. Advance through this state. It's going to open up a front right there. Oh, but we have closed that off. Okay, I need the Africa Corps. Get back down here. It's going to actually allow us to start pushing in this way, but I would definitely take a white piece at this stage. Here's the other thing, though. No. Because of the infamy part. We have got to get out of the war. They are available to be friends with us. They are weaker right now. They're hurting a lot more than we are hurting from this war. But for now, our chance to make an alliance with them isn't there, and I think that would have been the big win. How much closer that is to acceptance. And now France is the worrying one for that, but if France is the one getting their butts kicked, it's going to keep pushing the war score in that direction, where we are not. Corsica has also been lost. And public schools finally passes. At least one good thing has come out of all of this. Alright, we've reached the 0 scale for Germany themselves. They are happy, and France is almost happy. It's Britain, it's Spain, it's Italy who aren't, but they're all getting relatively close. I think we will have that be the deal. France is the one who loses out, not us. The longer we hold on, the more it's going to tick in that favor. Alright, we're at a 0-0, but how are we looking on this one? Italy turning in favor of it. France is very much in favor of it. Their capitulation desires at -16, their war support's at -30. That's the big one to watch. We cannot let that go away. But we're getting close to this being an acceptable deal. And as much as they're losing right now, they're not losing rapidly. Why? The capitulation was nowhere near. Oh, hello. That's the war goal. That's the war goal right there. So they've got an agreement directly with Germany. Others weren't willing to, but that suddenly leaves us. Nobody wants anything as is, and we don't stand a chance as they go to invade. Again, the same 2 that didn't want to... what happens with humiliate? Okay, that gets us close. I do not like the liberate Ethiopia one. Now, there's a lot of forces moving into our area. I would imagine a lot of them are going to want to go in the direction of Tunisia directly. So let's try to get this 3rd army over to Tunisia instead. One part about this that doesn't make sense. The one nation who doesn't want the deal is the one nation who's occupied. It might only be partially, but they are literally the only ones that are occupied, yet they have the highest war support. It's that it's 1.8%. France, how's that alliance coming? No? -33. We get the infamy. Does that infamy go away without the war because we didn't take any of those goals? I'm hoping that's the case. There's that steel building frame, but we really can't do anything with that at this moment. Let's wait for the war to be done. Here. Yes, okay, okay. Well, this just got easier. Kingdom of Heaven, Italy, out. They have capitulated. They didn't want any part of this war anymore. And suddenly, there's a plus 1,000. They don't want this war. Get rid of that humiliate. Humiliate doesn't hurt us much. Tunisia doesn't hurt us much more. But let's wait a little bit and see what happens. If there's a planned invasion, if these guys all start moving our direction. Alright, so we're going to concede Tunisia and get humiliated here, but that's a lot less than what it was. We do keep some of the infamy, but it's a lot less than it was. We're down to 36. German Empire now owns Tunisia. They took a little chunk of France. And France, yes, will take the alliance. With an obligation. That part almost makes it worth it. Almost makes it worth it. That was rough. But we came out of it still, in fact, came out of it better. 15 million in reserves, and we're seeing our military grow right now a bit. It's filling out for sure. I just added a new commander to the 4th Army. Did I not? Yes, we're definitely trying to expand it. Again, nothing but local governors. We'll hold off on that. We'll take that ever so slight penalty. I would redistribute the others, but there's nothing to redistribute to. Those are filling out right now as we speak. Alright, folks. Well, this was the fear, right? We are second tier big player, that a big player would come after us, and they did. And they got a lot of support. We did get support from France. We did get an alliance out of France as a result. But we got beat up a little bit. My biggest mistake here was not just going, you want Tunisia? You can have it. It was such an unimportant piece for us. I looked at it as an opportunity, and it was a missed opportunity, really, because we could have gotten the alliance with France without France losing anything, without us getting humiliated, and had the same outcome. We lose Tunisia either way, but the humiliation and them losing something hurt everybody's economy. And we gained infamy that we didn't need to gain. We're at least 25 points higher than we would have been had we just simply conceded in the first place. Also, by increasing the goals, so we had a chance to actually win that with just France on our side and not doing anything beyond just simple war reparations. But then Great Britain joined in, and that was when I got greedy. Great Britain made that difficult. They were going to have demands. They had desires as well. And again, that was when it was like, oh, wait. Just give up Tunisia. Right? Instead, we wanted to take land from Great Britain. The weird thing was we were taking the land, but we just couldn't get credit for it. France is actually pretty small because, like, Senegal is their trucial states. They're British East Africa, which is why there was no invasion to happen there. That's why it wasn't a front. But Great Britain's huge compared to France, territorially. So once they lost a large state, what they were losing out on the daily war support was a lot more than what Britain was losing out on with these tiny little African nations that have, you know, a population under 100k and a GDP of 128k, which accounts for 0%. I'm looking at the scope, the scale, the size versus the real scale, the real size of those states, and that was costly. Now, in the end, we still get the alliance out of France. We still lose Tunisia, and oh wait, we got humiliated, and they lost a small state as well. But in the end, it didn't end up being much worse. In the end, our economy handled it just fine. But we lose 200 prestige. France also dropped to number 2. Great Britain jumped to number 1. but they still have a big GDP. You can see it took a hit. Britain's took a hit, but not as big. German Empire, they've already bounced back, even before the end of the war. Others, Spain's still behind us. They took a bigger hit, hurt them more, but we're only 3 ahead of them on prestige all of a sudden. That was unfortunate. That was definitely unfortunate. And all of that came down to we had a strong military, but not strong enough. Surprising that Germany wanted to give up their ally to do that, but suddenly they found a few friends. Italy, meanwhile, is pretty damn weak. They seemed a pretty easy target there, but couldn't take advantage of it. In the future, I'm interested, especially now that we have a French ally and wouldn't need a naval invasion. I'm interested in taking them on in a war. Do they even have friends? They do. If France is still... No, right now they're not. They really turned down their military there, but turn it back up, get back to 23k. They're plus 5k over Austria-Hungary. We're plus 6k over Italy. If it was just 2-on-2 and nobody else got involved, that's a war you could win. But at this point, it looks like a big, large-scale war is going to attract other powers. And I could easily see that escalating. Anyway, that's going to do it for this episode. I'm a Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.